Most people think banks exist to protect your money. You deposit, you withdraw. Safe and simple. But banks aren't just safes, they're businesses. Every dollar you deposit starts working for them. When you put money into a savings or checking account, it rarely sits in a vault. Banks lend it out to borrowers, mortgages, car loans, business loans. They might pay you 1% interest, but charge borrowers 6%, 10%, even 25%. That difference is called the interest spread. Your money works, you get crumbs.
They get the feast.
Fees are another way banks profit quietly. Maintenance fees, overdraft fees, ATM fees, international transaction fees. Small individually, but multiplied across millions of accounts, they generate billions every year. Most people don't even notice. Then there's the gold mine, credit cards. If you don't pay the balance in full, interest charges stack up quickly. Every swipe earns the bank a processing fee through networks like Visa or MasterCard. Late payments, another fee. Banks want you to use credit to carry balances. It's not a coincidence, it's the business model. Banks invest your money too. Government bonds, corporate debt, even stock markets. Massive amounts of capital make even small returns huge. And when banks lose money, often they are bailed out. Customers lose money, that's personal risk. The system favors the bank every time. Your data is also a silent revenue stream. Banks know your spending habits, income, and lifestyle. Even anonymized, this data predicts behavior, prices loans, and targets products. Your financial life becomes a gold mine, used to sell more accounts, investments, insurance, and retirement plans.
Cross-selling ensures a lifetime of revenue. Banks don't just want deposits, they want trust, loyalty, and repeated usage. Your habits, earnings, and spending patterns become a long-term strategy for profit. Think about the last time you checked your balance. Did you notice the tiny fees, the hidden interest? Each adds up, lining the bank's pockets while most people remain unaware. Banks make money from loans, fees, credit cards, investments, and your financial data. Not with you, but from you. Understanding this changes how you see banks. They are not neutral protectors of your money. They are finely tuned businesses, designed to profit from nearly every move you make. Your deposits are fuel. Your spending is profit. Your habits are strategy. And the system works because most people never ask the critical question, who is my money really working for? Next time you swipe a card or pay a fee, remember, the machine is working, and it's working for them, not for you. Banks don't just lend, they invest. Government bonds, corporate debt, stock markets. Because they manage massive amounts of capital, even small returns generate huge profits. Cross-selling ensures lifetime revenue. Banks don't just want deposits, they want trust, loyalty, and repeat usage. Once you understand this, banks are no longer neutral protectors of your money. Most people think when someone dies, their money just sits quietly in the bank. But banks are businesses. Money left behind doesn't disappear. It gets processed carefully, legally, and sometimes slowly. Millions of dollars sit unclaimed in banks worldwide every year. In the US, over $60 billion is held in unclaimed accounts. Sometimes distant relatives discover these funds years later. Most people assume banks just passively store money, but banks are on constant alert for fraud. The moment a suspicious transaction is detected, maybe a sudden large withdrawal, a foreign charge, or unusual spending patterns, the bank's automated systems flag it instantly. These systems scan millions of transactions daily using artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, and risk algorithms. If something looks off, the transaction is marked as potentially fraudulent. At this point, the bank typically freezes the transaction or account temporarily. This doesn't mean your money is gone, just that the bank needs time to verify it. The customer is notified immediately, often via SMS, email, or app alert. Banks may ask you to confirm, did you authorize this charge? If the customer confirms the transaction is legitimate, the freeze is lifted quickly. But if the transaction is indeed suspicious, the bank moves to the next step, investigation. During this stage, banks often work in real time with fraud detection teams, monitoring similar patterns across other accounts. Suspicious transactions may trigger alerts at multiple levels to prevent money from being moved further. Banks also employ rules-based approaches. For example, multiple transactions just below the daily limit may indicate fraud attempts, or sudden purchases in countries you've never visited may trigger automatic alerts. The key here is speed and accuracy. Banks need to act fast enough to stop fraud, but carefully enough to avoid false alarms that inconvenience customers. Once flagged, an internal investigation begins. This can involve fraud analysts, compliance officers, and sometimes law enforcement. Banks will review transaction history, compare patterns, and contact merchants. They may also freeze more linked accounts if there is a risk of cascading fraud. Policies vary depending on the type of fraud. For unauthorized transactions, banks often have programs like zero liability protection, meaning customers are not held financially responsible if the fraud is confirmed. In cases where the fraud is due to negligence, like sharing your PIN or login, the bank may investigate accountability differently. All findings are documented in internal compliance reports. This ensures banks remain audit-ready and meet regulatory obligations. Most importantly, banks are required to inform regulatory bodies in significant fraud cases. This keeps the financial system secure and prevents systemic risks. Once the investigation concludes, banks take action, reversing fraudulent charges, reimbursing victims, and updating security measures. They may also provide guidance to customers on avoiding similar fraud in the future. Interesting fact: billions of dollars in attempted fraud are caught before money leaves the banking system, thanks to these rapid detection and response policies. Fraud detection is a constant battle. Banks rely on AI, human analysis, and strict policies to protect both the customer and the institution. Every alert, every freeze, every investigation is part of a carefully designed process to prevent loss and maintain trust. Remember, when a suspicious transaction occurs, banks are not just reacting, they're fighting an invisible war to keep your money safe.